Yeah, go. Start.
Good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of Janta Education Society and Vivekananda Institute of Technology, I, Lakshmi K, Assistant Professor, Department of CSC, take this opportunity to welcome you all for the webinar on Insight into Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning, being organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering in association with Imarticus Solutions Private Limited. My hearty welcome goes to our respected Principal, Dr. Kumar Kenchegowda sir, and Vice Principal, Dr. D.V. Chandrasekhar sir. Welcome you, sir. Today's speaker, Mr. Aryan Jain, Data Science Trainer at Imarticus Learning Private Limited. He pursued his degree in Mechanical Engineering at Jabalpur Engineering College. He is having experience of 6+ years into data science and machine learning. He is passionate about solving business problems through data science and machine learning. He believes every number has a story to tell. He quotes, "Being a data scientist, it's my job and passion to decode that story." On behalf of everyone from Vivekananda Institute of Technology, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
My special welcome to Mr. Sharat Kumar, Head Business Development, Imarticus Learning Private Limited. Welcome you, sir. Now, my warm welcome to the HODs of various departments and all the participants who have joined this webinar. Welcome, one and all. I also extend a hearty welcome to our HOD, Dr. Vidya A., convener for today's webinar. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, I request our HOD, Dr. Vidya A., convener, to speak a few words.
Good afternoon to all. Welcome to today's webinar on Insight into Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning in association with Imarticus Solutions Private Limited. So today we have with Aryan Jain, who is going to give insight on ML and AI. So I request all the participants to take active participation throughout the session. And on behalf of everyone at VKIT, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you. So should we begin the session or there are other introductions?
You can start, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Sir, I'm
Yeah, okay. Okay, so good afternoon to all of you here. Welcome to this webinar. I think introduction have already been given, so I won't talk about that more. Briefly, I will set a kind of introduction about myself quickly, and then we will directly jump into the topics of today's session. Okay, so as mentioned, my name is Arihant. I am currently working as a data scientist. Just Money comes with experience of 6+ years in this field. In the past, I worked with a couple of companies, which is like Vodafone, GE, RBL Bank, and Impact. Again, I've tried solving a lot of business problems using data science, ML, and AI, and that's what we are going to talk in our today's session. That how we can leverage the power of these technologies to solve the different business problem. Okay, so cool. I think I will just start with the session. In between, if you have any questions, and probably at the end of the session, we will open up for a Q&A where you guys can ask any doubts which you have regarding this field as such. And I will be very happy to answer them. Okay, so let's start with this slide, which talks about the importance of data. So first of all, let's try to understand from our life, right, the way we are using different systems, like that from the time we wake up in the morning, right? We use our mobile phones, we use our laptops, tablets, we go and browse different websites on internet, starting from Google, right? And all that. So we generate a lot of data, which we are generating since, like, if I talk about last 7 to 8 years as such, you will see that we are doing a lot of things. Like, for example, you guys, I am sure that you guys must be browsing on Amazon, Flipkart, Facebook, Netflix, and all that, internet technology companies, where you go and browse for the different purposes, right? But at the end of the day, what you are doing, you are browsing something, but for a company, you are generating some data which they are storing at their end, so that they can make sense out of it. We will talk about how to make a lot of sense, a lot from the data. But I think, as far as data part is concerned, we are generating a lot of data, right? So uh, right. So in that way, Harvard Business Review have uh, analyzed all this events which was happening since long, and say that, okay, our world most valuable resource is no longer an oil but a data. So earlier we talk about oil as such, right? That oil is something the most valuable resource for the world. Of course it is. I'm not denying that fact. But still, we are living in an economy like this where data is the power. The companies who have good amount of data about you, they can generate a lot of insights and increase their revenues as such, right? So in this 21st century as such, I would like to say, like, data is the new oil, AI is the new electricity, right? So in this is the world we are living in, right? So and I'm sure you guys understand this in terms of at least data generation opportunity, that we as a customer, we as a human being are generating much more data which we were generating earlier, right? So it gives birth to different technologies, uh, uh, and all that, right? So let's talk about the velocity of the data as such, and after that probably I will just try to ask a question which you guys can answer, and which you guys can ponder over to think about it, right? So roughly, if we see every 60 second, just pay attention to the this number. 60 second is just a minute, okay? From our complete day of 24 hours, right? There is around 98,000 plus tweets which happen. There are around 7 lakh status updates which happen on Facebook as such, right? There are around 11 million instant messages happen in every 60 second, right? There is around 8 to 10 lakh Google searches happen in that 60 seconds, right? There are around 170 million plus emails have been sent in that 60 seconds, okay? And in terms of data size as such, if you see, we are generating around 2000 terabytes of the data in that 60 seconds. So all of you just pay attention and just think about this, right? We think that we are doing one tweet, right? But as such, there are thousands, millions of people who are doing that. And these companies like Twitter, Facebook, and different companies, they are of course storing this data somewhere in the cloud, you can say, or in their databases, or somewhere they are storing this data, right? So in a way, just think about this volume of a data. This is 2000 terabytes of the data we all in the world is generating every 60 second, every 1 minute. Now you are good enough to do a calculation for an hour and for a day, and then for a month, and for the years, right? So we are living really, really in a very, very data based, data driven economy now, right? That's what happened. Let's also think about this. Isn't it this data generation was happening earlier also? If I talk about, let's say, early 2000s, right? When the computer science and all this programming languages, all these databases, we started learning about them, right? Early 2000s, I'm talking about specifically in India context, right? We were generating a data, maybe not with the speed which we are generating today, but what have changed in this couple of years is that, of course, the data speed is increased. As you can see, the volume of data is increased. As we initially starting talking about mbs, right? If we get 30 MB of data, we were like very happy, right? But now we are talking about gigabytes, zettabytes, and so on and so forth, right? But what is the biggest innovation, I will say, or the biggest change happened from the computer science and IT perspective, if you see, is the processing power, right? So you guys may have heard about this words, right? Hadoop, cloud. There are different cloud platforms like AWS, Google, Microsoft Azure, and so on and so forth, right? So what has changed in last couple of years is, earlier the computing was not that cheap. When I say earlier, it means like early 2000s, right? That's where we have to pay huge amount of price, to process all this data, and that's where the data generation was there. However, the systems are so it's not very cheap and so expensive that we are not able to deploy them to learn to analyze this data sets which we have, right? But after the introduction of Hadoop in the market, after the introduction of different open source technologies which was developed by big companies like Google, Facebook, and all, uh, right? This computing power also becomes cheap, right? So that we can store this data in a cheap way, and then we can also process this in a cheap cost, right? And that's where you are seeing that since last 10 years, specifically in India context, everyone is talking about AI, everyone is talking about machine learning. Every job opportunity, if you see, which is for a simple analyst role or a data scientist role, will need a skill set of machine learning. Every company wants you to learn about these technologies, whether you are a tech guy or whether you are not a tech guy. Still, companies want you to learn this because this is the future. This is going to be a future, and that's what not I am speaking. Even if you follow the CEO of Google, who is Mr. Sundar Pichai, he also mentioned the same in his talks about the AI as such, right? So uh, the biggest thing which happened and the biggest thing which helped to drive this whole data science machine learning based system is because the data generation and the data velocity increase along with the computation power uh, becomes very cheap, so that each and every company now have the power to store this data and to process this. Okay, cool. Now the question arises that, okay, fine, we are storing all this data, that's great. I am doing a lot of tweets, you guys are doing a lot of tweets, we are generating a lot of Facebook data. Even if you think on a way that when you are browsing in the different sales which happen on the different e-commerce platform like Amazon, Flipkart, and all that, right? Again, when you browse on their website, you are generating a data. When you are placing order, you are generating a data, right? Then why analytics is needed, right? Though we are storing this data, but what we will do, because storing this data is still a cost, right? So unless companies doesn't have this view how they can produce an insight from this, just storing this data in some database doesn't make sense, right? And that's where the analytics come into the picture, and that's where we have to understand that what is the analytics, right? So basically, let me give you a very simple example, which I think I assume you guys have definitely seen on this platform. So when you go on amazon.com, let's say, and you start searching for any product, let's say you are searching for, let's say, iPhone, for example. Okay, once you go and see that, okay, this is the iPhone 7, let's say, you are just comparing the features and all, and then if you browse it further, you will see that Amazon give you the recommendation that when someone have bought this product, they also bought something else, right? Which maybe in this case, maybe, let's say, cover of the iPhone phone, or maybe the accessories related to the iPhones, right? Now just go back to the same point which I've mentioned, that when you are trying to search for an iPhone on Amazon.com, you are generating a data, which company are storing in their databases, right? And how they are putting the analytics on the top of it, because they know that the people who have come on the platform, who have come on the Amazon.com, when they have searched for iPhone, and then when they have bought it, they also bought a cover with it. Okay, or let's say they have bought an additional accessories with it. Now this information becomes the reach set of an information for these companies, and they use this information to pitch the products to you guys, right? And this is not a simple example of e-commerce. You use any app, whether it's a food tech company, or whether it's a food delivery company, or whether it's a grocery delivery company, you will see that all of these companies are leveraging your data in one form or another. And also, interestingly, you do a lot of Google searches, right? Google show you the results very fast, right? In less than milliseconds, if I'm not wrong, right? So you wanted to learn, let's say, NLP, or let's say you wanted to learn neural networks, you just go and type introduction to neural network on Google, you will find tons of pages in the order, right? Again, what's happening at the back end, how Google is deciding which page Google should show you at the top, as per your behavior, as per the data which you have generated while browsing these topics in your web browser, right? All this data is being captured and being exploited to give you the better user experience with this. I hope, guys, you are able to follow me as such, right? If there are any questions, you can probably ask them. I will take them once I complete my slides, right? So yeah, so now not only about the customers. If you think even now the machines which are being deployed on the different platforms are connected to cloud. So in my previous experiences working with some of the manufacturing companies, uh, there are locomotives, there are IoT sensors which is being deployed on this manufacturing machines, and this manufacturing machines, whatsoever data they are generating, so what kind of data they can generate, that what's happening every second with this machine, how many times this machine is revolving, what is the temperature, what is the pressure, and so on and so forth. All this data is being pushed back to the cloud, right? And that's where the data scientists like me or anyone, go in there and analyze that data as such, to figure out that when this machine have a when this machine can fail basis the data which we have captured about this machine, right? So it's not only about humans who are generating the data now. Even the machines, even the smallest to smallest device, even the health band which guys put on your wrist, right? That's also generating a data, right? That's also sending a data. If you are wearing an Apple Watch, it's also storing tons of the data and sending it to the cloud, right? Which can be analyzed, right? So trust me, this technologies, when we say machine learning, when we say AI, it's all around us now. You open your Gmail box, right? When you open your Gmail box, guys, when you see, right, the way you have a primary folder, promotion folder, spam folder. What is this? This is one application of machine learning. Whenever any mail falls in your mailbox, Google run the algorithms and try to identify whether this email is spam or not. And if it is a spam, rather than showing you directly, Google directly put that mail into the spam folder. This is the typical application which you can see of machine learning there, right? Now Google have went more advanced, right? They are trying to categorizing your primary mail versus promotion mail versus updates, right? So Google is now becoming more smarter, not only identifying a spam and not spam, even the mails which is not spam, whether they are really important to you or not, they are categorizing that also, right? So all this application, see, the way this happened, we will probably touch base that how the NLP and how the different technology is being used to do that, how the different programming languages are being used for that. Probably I will talk about that also in a session, but I just wanted to give you the broader spectrum of the things in terms of AI and ML, right? And if the use cases are so much, definitely if you learn this particular technology, it opens a lot of door for you, right? In terms of the different job opportunity, different research opportunities also. Not only job opportunity, but there is a lot of research happening in this area, which for the students like you, this makes a lot of sense to embrace them and learn them and try to create your own projects by using these technologies, right? Um, right. Now, if I talk about as such the demand about the data scientist in the business world, just to show you, a market of this particular skill as such. So if you see around 40 to 50% of the data scientists work in a technology company. So when I say technology company, you can think of the technology company like e-commerce companies. You can think of the companies like Make My Trip. You can think of the companies like Swiggy, and all that. Even you can think of the big MNCs like TCS, Infosys, and all that, right? Then there are specific positions in the marketing where you do a lot of data science. Again, there is 13% job opportunity which is available there. In the financial services, there are around 6 to 7% opportunities which is available. Even in the government setup, government have a lot of data. Government, by the different initiative they have launched for our safety, as well as different economic initiatives. Government also do have their own data which they are generating. So in government also there are opportunity for a data scientist to go and explore that data and generate an insights from it, right? So as you can see that as far as the opportunities is concerned, there is a plethora of opportunities which is available. Yeah. But okay, I talked about the use cases as such. I given you some flavor of machine learning and AI in the real world, as you guys can see, right? Even we talked about a broader job opportunities which is available, but the question arises, who is data scientist, whom we call a data scientist? Okay, what are the skills which enable you to say that okay, you are a data scientist? Okay, and what they rely on, what type of tools they use, what type of technologies they use. So let me probably talk on that, which will I am sure which will help you a lot, right? Now the basic, the first and the basic and the most important skill for any data scientist is to learn programming. Okay, this is a must skill. The reason being is the data, as I talked about, right, that the data is so huge that you cannot handle this data into the Excel sheets easily, right? So definitely this data may be lying on your cloud systems or maybe lying in your RDBMS systems, right? So first skill which you need is to understand about the programming as such. Now, in the data science world, as far as the programming is concerned, Python is a language which is used heavily along with Java and other programming language like Scala. However, the demand of Python is very, very high in this market. The reason is the Python, if you see Python as a skill, Python have its own ecosystem which is developed around it for doing the different tasks which is needed in the machine learning pipeline, right? And that's where Python did get a lot of traction, and Python is gaining a lot of traction in the market. So the first skill which you all should work upon is your coding skills. So a lot of students thinks that okay, data science is not that heavy coding related profile, but I wanted to just clarify that it is. It is, though it required a lot of different skill set which software engineer may not have, but coding as a skill is very, very important. Now again, I don't wanted to restrict you guys to learn only Python. Let's say if in your college courses, if you are learning Java, I say that learn that and try to implement the things there, and learning Python is not a very difficult task for you. Once you have learned one programming language very deeply, then learning other programming languages is not very difficult. As I said about Python, why Python have gained a lot of traction, even if you go and read the different surveys which publish every year talking about which programming language is leading the market in terms of AI and machine learning technology, you will see that the Python is at the top. The reason, as I said, that Python have developed a 360-degree view or 360-degree ecosystem around it to do the different machine learning tasks, right? So the first key skill which all of you should work upon is Python. Now in Python, again, Python is a very broad language, but initially you guys can start with working with simple Python data types, doing the basic programming in Python, and then you can learn more about the different frameworks like NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there are again a plethora of material which is available, but you can write down if you wanted to write down that what you wanted to learn in the Python as a language. Okay, that's the must skill which you need to have if you wanted to be a data scientist. The second skill, which is again very important, is statistics. Uh, because at the end of the day, when you have a data which is getting generated, if you have to make sense out of it, you need to have some statistics background to do that. Now for learning statistics, statistics broadly have two types. One is inferential and other is descriptive, right? So in descriptive statistics, you mostly talk about the events which has happened in the past, okay, and you try to analyze them. And in the inferential statistics, you mostly talks about hypothesis testing and all this kind of topics where you are able to infer something from that data. Okay, so again, I'm not going in very detail of all this, but I'm just trying to give you that what skill sets are must skill set if you wanted to get into this field of machine learning and AI. And again, just wanted to burst this myth. There are a lot of titles which float around in this market. Some say AI engineer, some say machine learning engineer, some say data scientist. Though I have a slide specifically for this, I will come and talk about this. But the skill set which I am telling you right now is more or less common across all these titles, and that's how I'm just trying to explain you this skill set in that way, right? The second, as I said, is statistics. The third thing which you need to learn is mathematics. Now, mathematics, if I use this word mathematics, it's an open end topic as such, right? So there are specific areas in mathematics which you guys can focus upon if you are really interested in this field of data science. One is linear algebra, other is calculus. These two topics are really, really important. And the reason behind it is all the machine learning algorithms. If you go and see the code of them, like in Python or in any other language, you will see that all these mathematics operations are being used to derive, an equation or derive something from these algorithms. Okay, that's where learning mathematics is very important. Again, don't get lost into this field. I'm not saying you to learn a complex differential equation from the day one. I'm just saying that try to make an intuition about, let's say, vectors, matrix, and all that stuff, and then try to relate it with the data science algorithms. Okay, so don't do this thing also that you just take a very heavy maths book and start learning that. I am saying that learn data science mathematics, what is being used in the algorithms. Okay, that's the third skill which you have to work upon. The fourth skill is machine learning algorithms. Okay, now again there are plethora of machine learning algorithm which is available. If you like Google it, you will find that there are a lot of articles which talk about top 10, top 20, top 5 algorithms. But broadly I will say that there are like 3 4 algorithms which you should start learning by yourself. Again, they are not very difficult algorithms. There are a lot of material which is available for your help to learn all about all of them. Uh, so you can start with the basic algorithms like linear regression, logistic regression. Okay, and then move on towards, if you guys wanted to write it, you can write it. Then you can move towards decision trees, random forest, boosting algorithms, and all that. And again, when you are learning this algorithm, the idea is not to rectify this algorithm, because if you do the rectification as such, you won't be able to apply it, right? So the idea here, when I say that learn about this algorithm, try to get an intuition about this algorithms, go deeper into the mathematics about this algorithm, and that's where the skill of mathematics come into the picture, where you have to use the knowledge of your mathematics to decode these algorithms. Okay, the fifth skill as such is about the data visualization skill. Now a lot of people confuses data visualization with the graphs. Okay, that if I am able to put up a very good graphs, if I am able to let's say uh, generate very beautiful graph, uh, I am doing a right visualization. Okay, but when I say the data visualization skill here, or data storytelling skill, what I mean by that is that whatsoever analysis you are working upon, are you able to present it in a simplistic format or not? So that is also one of the skill which is being seen in different companies when you go and give an interview, that how you are presenting that analysis. Okay, so this five are the broader skills as such. uh, However, on the top of it, what is the most important skill is practice. Okay, though let's say you have spent a lot of time in learning about statistics, let's say mathematics, a programming language, and so on and so forth, right? But what is the use of learning all this if you don't practice? Because when you practice, then only you will be able to see that whatsoever you have learned, are you able to apply it or not? And again, for practice, there are like umpteen number of data sets available. Even if you go on Indian website, Indian government website, data.gov.in, you will find a lot of data sets which you can use and do the analysis on. The recent one is a lot of people have worked on the COVID related analysis, and some people have come up with the models also to predict the spread of COVID, also COVID-19, right? So again, there are different websites which do provide the open source data, so you can go on them, download that data sets, and start putting all your theoretical knowledge which you have learned in this as a skill, to put that into the action. And again, that's very very important, because uh, though you have learned a lot of algorithms, but until unless you go and apply them, you won't be able to interpret that how you can use that into the business context. And again, as I said, that there are a plethora of data sets which is available where you can go and use them, right? So this is like a five major skill which I just wanted to talk to you guys. If you wanted to get into this field, work on all these five skills. Uh, and if you work on all these five skills, I'm pretty sure that you are making yourself ready for the for this kind of a jobs. Okay, right. So I did talk about this. Yeah, so let's understand about the data analytics process flow as such. What happened in the real life industry? Let me just try to give you an example about couple of projects which happen in a real life industry. So let's begin with a very simple example so that I can explain you this flow. I'm sure all of you have at least heard about the credit cards, right? You may not have used it, you may have used it, but that doesn't matter. uh, the matter is like you have heard about a credit card as a term. Now if you have not heard about this, let me just quickly introduce that. So credit card is a type of a card where you spend first and pay later. It's not like your debit cards, right, where you have to put the money in your bank account and then you will be able to use. In credit card, banks give you a credit limit, which is, let's say, 50,000 of credit limit, which you can use, and after 45 days you can pay to them. Okay, again, an interesting product. Now how the data analytics use in this product? Okay, now the biggest problem which banks face is because here you are giving a credit first and then you are collecting. So it's a postpaid kind of a model. You are using it first and then giving the money back, right? uh, Now the biggest problem for any organization, any banking institute, is to figure out that which customers they can go and give this credit card to. Okay, and what is the why it is so? Because banks don't wanted to give a credit card to a customer who don't pay the bills once he or she has used the card, right? A simple example, right? Makes sense, right? Right. So this is called a risk related machine learning in the domain of banking, where you use machine learning, different machine learning techniques, starting from, let's say, logistic regression, boosting algorithms, even deep learning algorithms like neural nets, ANN, or different kind of networks to predict the risk of a customer. So let me just try to unbox this jargons as such. So basically, if you try to understand the flow is very simple, that you wanted to give a cards to more and more customers, but you wanted to give to a customer who can pay back, right? The customer who don't pay back, you don't want it to give the card, right? The biggest challenge with this is you have to predict this when you are giving a card to a customer. So you don't know what will happen after 1 month, whether this customer will pay or not, right? So you don't know that, right? Because that event will happen after 30 days, right, once you have given the card to the customer. So before 30 days, when you are giving a card, you have to build a technology layer, you have to build an intelligence layer which can tell you that whether this particular customer will pay the bill on time or not. A simple thing, right? So this is one of the use case which is very famous in the banking industry. Even there are a lot of data sets, open source data sets, which is available for you guys to explore and apply this. Okay, so let's try to understand this process flow as such. Okay, so the process flow starts from, for any machine learning model or for any AI model as such, you need first of all data. You need first of all data. That's called a data collection process. So if you don't have data, there is no AI, there is no machine learning, there is nothing you can do about it. Okay, so data is I think we started a presentation like this, guys, right? That data is something which is core to all these technologies, and that's where data is very important. So now in this example, what will be my data? The data will be of, let's say, historical data of past 1 year, to which the company have given a credit cards, right? Now let's assume for a moment that that customer are 1 lakh customer for a moment. Okay, now out of that 1 lakh customer, some customer have let's say paid their bill on time, some customer have not, right? So this data is already available with us, right? Now collecting a data is something which enable you to do machine learning and AI, right? But again, real world, when you collect the data, even when you use to store this data in the databases or in the cloud related systems, this data is not clean, so you have to do a cleaning on this data, right? That's called a data formatting. So in a layman term, you can understand that some data is storing in your databases and in your cloud, and you have to do a cleaning so that you can do some analytics on the top of it. Okay, so that's how you can understand the data formatting step as such in the machine learning pipeline. Okay, so in our example, what kind of data we can have, let's say, about the income of the customer, okay, while applying for a card. Okay, and banks do ask for those details, right? When you go and apply, what is your income, what is your year of experience, are you working or not working, if you are working, are you salaried or self-employed, right? All this data is important for machine learning algorithms to understand whether this guy have an high potential of paying the bill on time or not. Okay, again, all these things points out to, at the end of the day, the probability. We will come to that part, but I'm just trying to give you the step by step flow of this task, right? So the third task, which is mentioned in this pipeline, is data analytics. Okay, so once you have collected the data, once you have done the cleaning of this, then after that the task come is to develop a machine learning model which will predict something. Here, what we wanted to predict in the example which I have given, we wanted to predict that whether the customer whom we are giving a credit card, will pay the uses or pay the bill on time or not. A simple thing, right? So that's what my business problem here is, right, which I have defined. Now, to predict whether the customer will pay on time or not, I am going to use couple of variables related to the customer. So for the single customer, what variables we can think of, as I said, right? What is the salary of a customer, right? And again, the rule is very simple, right? If the salary is higher, there is a high probability that customer will pay, right? It's a easy brainer for us also, it's an easy brainer for machine also to understand this trend, right? Then the second, maybe, let's say, years of experience, right? And so on and so forth. You can think of multiple variables in a way which can differentiate between a good customer and a bad customer, right? So good customer who pay their bills on time, bad customer who doesn't pay their bill on time, right? So that's what you do in the data analytics pipeline. Again, there are a lot of technical details which is there in this third section, where you do use different techniques which is available to pre-process your data, to clean your data. Some are mathematical concepts, but again, for this session, I'm not going in very detail about them, but I just wanted to give you the overview that what happens, right? So let's say once you have used all this machine learning algorithm in this section, like as I said, logistic regression, random forest, or this kind of algorithms, uh, which is very common in the machine learning world. Then after that, you do the fourth step, which is data visualization. So probably you just then whatsoever you have done, you present that analysis to the someone, right? That, okay, this is how you have analyzed the data, this is the trends you have find out in the data, and that's how the trend look like, and that's how your model look like, right? So these are the four broad steps in any machine learning model when you are dealing with the structured data. Okay, now possibly let me explain this two terms before I move ahead on the slide. uh, in ML world, again, there are two types of data which people keep on talking about. One is structured data and other is unstructured data. Okay, you may have heard about this term in your theoretical subjects, maybe, or while browsing the internet, but like, just let me give a thought process to this. Structured data is something which you can, which you can see in, let's say, and store in the databases as such, right? So the example of the structured data is like your CSV files, right? The data which you store in your CSV files, uh, all this, and the data which you store in your RDBMS systems, like, let's say, Oracle as a database, MySQL as a database. This all data is structured in nature, right? What is the unstructured data we call in a machine learning world? Like the data you have in audio files, right? Now you wanted to store them in a cloud, or let's say SDFS, Hadoop file system, right? All this fall under the category of unstructured data, like images. let's say you have to build an image classification model. You wanted to differentiate between, let's say, a cat as an animal and dog as an animal, right? So this kind of things fall under the vertical of unstructured data, right? Now, the flow which I told you, broadly this flow apply for both of this data sets as such. But as I said earlier, that machine learning and AI is a broad field. So now it's very important to break this down like this and understand which vertical sits where. Okay. So in the first structure data, all the algorithms which I mentioned, like logistic regression, random forest, and all these algorithms fall into this first vertical, where you learn about them in the first part of a thing, which is structured data. Now, when you talk about the textual data, that field is called a NLP, natural language processing, where you use again a different kind of an algorithms to process your text data, and do a lot of work in that space. Like in NLP, if you think about, there is a lot of work on the chatbots which is happening. I'm sure you guys have seen, when you visit any website, right? uh, Nowadays, like every website have a chatbot, right? So when you go, a chatbot can answer some of your basic questions. Like if you have put any order on the food delivery apps, it first directs you towards a chatbot which try to help you with the answers, right? And again, that's an NLP models which have been built and deployed there. So there is something called FAQ based models which have been deployed there to solve this problem, right? So a lot of work a lot of work you can do in the NLP space if you choose machine learning and AI as your field, right? Then there is a lot of work on the images which is happening, right? So when you do, okay, I'm not sure, but you guys have seen, if you go on Google, there is something called Google image search which is being launched, where you can put any damn image, which you have in your system, right? And put it on Google search to search that image. Okay. uh, Again, if you think from that perspective, there is some machine learning model which is being deployed at a backend to figure out the similar images. So similarity kind of a use case, right? So as I said that there is a lot of use cases as such. If I start dividing into structured data and unstructured data, so in structured data, I did talk about the use cases like banking use case. Okay. In unstructured data, I talked about images use case. A lot of work is happening on the audio files, how you can how you can identify the different voices in the audio file and enable the customer. Like banks are using it for their customer call center. Like for example, let's say if I am the actual owner of the credit card or any bank product, they store my voice, and whenever I call them, they won't ask me any PII details, any personal details. Basis the audio authentication, they just pass me directly to the customer care agent. Okay, so all these things are happening in this field in a way. If you see, uh, again, I will talk about all this thing in my coming slides. But yeah, just wanted to give you a context that when we say ML and AI, it's a very very broad field, can be applied in the different domains, and there may be different ways of approaching these problems also. Okay. So cool. I think let's talk about the use cases as such a little bit more. Okay. I'm sure you guys are enjoying the session, and if you guys have any questions, probably will love to definitely love to take them. That if there are any specific question about your career, about the different technologies you wanted to learn. But yeah, there are a couple of more slides which I wanted to cover. So once I done that, I will open up for a Q&A round, and we'll try to answer each of your questions. Okay, cool. Right. So let's try to understand the data science use cases across industries. As I mentioned, so there are three things which I wanted to call out very specifically. One is like human to human thing. Other is human to machine, and then the third thing is machine to machine. So as I said in the beginning, that now the data science use cases is not only limited to humans. Even machines have that power, and that's why we use this term called a smart machines. Okay. We wanted to build smart cities, we wanted to build everything smart. Even the washing machine you buy today, if you go for an higher version of a washing machine, you will see that the washing machines are so smart. They also have sensors installed in it. They are also producing a data, and so on and so forth, right? So not only humans, but machines are also becoming smarter in terms of generating a data, right? So when I say human to human, what falls under into it is, let's say you wanted to run any campaign for any company. Okay, so it falls under the human to human interaction. Let's say you wanted to promote your brand. Okay, so let's say you wanted to build a model which customer you should target first, which have a higher probability of conversion, let's say. Okay, so that fall under the human to human category as such, right? Then there is something which is human to machine. Like for example, as I given you an example about Apple Watch, or any watch, which send the data related to your, let's say, heartbeats and some basic health related stuff to the cloud. That falls under the category of human to machine, right? And then there is something called machine to machine. A lot of manufacturing industries, if you see, is now enabled by AI, right? There are like, if you see the whole processing of the different instruments they are working on, they are deploying this AI technology to automate a lot of things, right? In surveillance area, in security area, there is a lot of AI which is being deployed. So that's fall under the machine to machine category, right? So there are like these three broad categories where we can, or where there is a lot of use cases which is already being deployed in these three categories. Okay. uh, Specifically, if I talk about the industries which is leveraging the machine learning and AI at scale, so the first is financial services. So when I say financial services, all your banks, all your NBFCs, all your fintechs, where you go and ask for a loan or credit cards, falls under this category. One of the example I have given you, right, that how to predict the risk of a customer, okay, or how to predict whether the customer will pay or not. Along with that, there is a lot of work happen on the fraud detection. Okay, because there are a lot of frauds which is happening. So again, the machine learning and AI is used to detect the fraud before they happen. Okay, so one thing you have to understand, that in all these use cases, uh, most of the use cases we talk about, that how we can proactively manage the whole pipeline, right? So see, if there is any fraud which is already happened, there is less probability you can do something about it. That's why all the companies, all the financial institutes want to be smart in a way that they are able to predict that fraud before that happen. And again, honestly, I just don't wanted to talk about just say that okay, we are able to do that. Yeah, still there is a lot of scope of improving, because identifying a fraud kind of a thing using machine learning and AI and deep learning models is not very easy task to do. You keep on building model, you keep on improving them, and that's how data science is more of an iterative process, where you try to build something and try to improve upon. Because fraud is kind of a thing, which fraudster think of the different ways of generating of frauds, and that's where your machine has to be more smarter than them to figure out this, right? So fraud detection in the real time is one of the use case in the financial industry. A lot of Indian banks, private Indian banks, have started using this kind of model to detect the fraud in the real time. The fraud can be of different type. Fraud can be, let's say, transaction fraud. Someone have stolen your credit card, now trying to do the transaction. Okay, so this kind of models are being developed in the machine by using machine learning, and is being deployed to figure out the fraud in the financial services. Then the second is retail and CPG industry. There is a lot of work happening on from the machine learning side to figure out the customer sentiments about any product. Whenever a company wanted to launch any new product, they wanted to understand the sentiment about the customer. They wanted to understand that whether this product will go through the market or not, right? So in all that way, a lot of surveys have been rolled out, and whenever we roll out any survey, we get a data, and that data is being then analyzed by a data scientist to figure out the behavior related aspects. So in machine learning term, you do a lot of unsupervised learning methods on it, which is like clustering and segmentation to figure out that. Okay, the third industry as such is e-commerce industry. Okay, I have given a lot of example earlier to you. There is a lot of models which is being deployed there to figure out what you will like the most as such. Like I will give you one example, one typical example in e-commerce industry, again related to e-commerce as such. You can think of that. You try to build a recommendation. You wanted to build a recommendation system, so that when the customer opens the app, you can give him the personalized view that, okay, what he likes. If you are able to figure out and try to show him, there is a high probability that that particular customer will buy that. And I'm sure that you guys use Netflix and Hotstar, and if you open a Netflix, and let's say if all of us open a Netflix right now, you may all of us may see a different different series or different movie on the top page. Why? Because there is a machine learning behavior model which is being deployed, which is continuously monitoring that what this guy is doing, what genres this guy is liking, what kind of movies he has watched, and then showing the recommendation. And again, how it helps to a companies, because it helps for a larger conversion, right? Because if you show what I wanted to see, okay, I will keep on watching more. And if you are showing me what I wanted to buy, I will buy it quickly, right? So that's how it works out very well for these companies. Okay. In the different call centers, this machine learning models are being used to optimize the number of call center agents, to optimize the time of the different IVR pipelines when the customer is calling, and so on and so forth. In the telecommunications, I myself have worked for 2 years in that domain. There is a lot of machine learning happening in that area. Not only, as I said, that of course you can do a lot of machine learning on the customers. Like there is a typical use cases are churn models, where you try to build a customer churn model which predict whether what is the probability that this customer will churn means, if you don't know the word as a churn means that customer will stop using the service. Okay, so this kind of machine learning models are being developed. And just pay attention, what is the beauty of it, guys? The beauty of it is that before the customer thinks that he wanted to leave the service, if you are able to know that thing in advance as a company, you can go ahead and try to pacify that customer, try to give a extra benefit to that customer to retain that customer. And that's the beauty of all this data science and AI ecosystem. And that's where this is gaining a lot of traction. Right. So in telecom, there is like you have a towers which are generating a data. Okay, so you analyze a lot of drop, like if the call is dropping more, then you do a network related analysis there, and then deploy this machine learning models. Okay, so I think as you see in this slides, there are like almost every industries in a way which is using machine learning and AI, right? Cool. So I think I already talked about this. Let me just show you a couple of more examples as such. Okay. I think this is the slide I wanted to talk about, which I initially taken. Let's say you go and browse for an phone. Okay, you are seeing this recommendation, right, which is frequently bout together. How this is coming? How this is coming? Is this coming? Is someone is sitting at the back end and pushing this? No, this is what machine is trying to figure out. And see, physically for a human, it's not possible to push this recommendations. You cannot do that, because there are millions and millions of product which is available on Amazon as of today, or Flipkart for that matter, right? So someone cannot figure out that, okay, which pattern is bout with what, and push this, right? So machines are being deployed which is in real time is figuring it out, that with this particular product, which product have a high probability of buying together. And that's where I'm sure you guys have seen this, right? That frequently bout together. This is a very common example, which I think a lot of people wanted to give in. Along with that, customer who viewed this item also viewed. Okay, so both of this information which you are seeing on an e-commerce website is enabled by using AI and machine learning as a technology. Okay, YouTube example, similarly, the example which I have given to you guys of Netflix, right? Even on YouTube, and you guys can try it, right? Just go and let's say search for a deep learning videos today on the YouTube, or let's say machine learning videos on YouTube, and probably after 2 3 hours, open your YouTube. In the first page you will see that YouTube starts showing you a lot of machine learning videos. Okay, so again, this all system are learning in a real time, because see, all this recommendation, when we talk about the recommendations, recommendation has to be a real time, right? If I am watching something now, it should show me the recommendation very quickly. It should not be a very historical process. And again, when you build this kind of a scaling system, you need a broader technologies to process this, where a lot of data engineering related skills come into the picture. Like data engineering itself, a separate domain, but yeah, because you wanted to do a machine learning at this scale. Okay, then if you talk about Ola and Uber as a platform, okay, uh, they are using different recommendation systems to match the drivers with the users. So kind of an algorithm which have been developed internally to figure out which driver will be matched to what driver, and so on and so forth. Okay, so a lot of scope, specifically in the recommendation world. Recommendation engine is a very hot topic, I will say, when we talk about machine learning and AI. Okay, so I guess this is what I want to talk. Even if you see the different apps, okay, let's say Uber for that matter, or food-related apps, fitness-related apps, okay, all wanted to show you the visualization, all wanted to use recommendation systems to help you. Like for example, just think about any food app for that matter, right? So let's say if you are you're ordering from that app since a while, they know your preferences, right? That whether you are a lover of Italian food, or whether you are a lover of a different kind of a food, right? So all this information is being captured in their databases, right? Now when they are generating your feed, when you open any of these food apps, these algorithms are figuring it out, that which particular product they can recommend you. Okay, so you can think of recommendation system not only with this apps as such, anywhere whenever you wanted to sell something. Okay, and you have a multiple products in your kitty, you have a multiple you have a multiple or plethora of products. That's where you can use recommendation to improve your customers experience there. Okay, so that's how you can think of the recommendation system as such. Again, if I go a bit technical here in the recommendation system, if you go in recommendation system, there are content to content based recommendation system, collaborative based recommendation system, and the third is like an hybrid based recommendation system. So how it works, if I give you an intuition of it, if you wanted to understand that, so let's say what Arihant likes, for example. Let's say we are trying to build a recommendation system for a movies. Okay, movies recommendation system, let's say. Okay, so I am a user, I am using that particular platform, let's say, for couple of months. So they know that what kind of movies I have watched, what kind of likes I have given, what kinds of feedbacks or ratings I have given, right? Now let's say there is someone named Amit, let's say he joined the platform, right? Now they wanted to understand, or company wanted to show to Amit that, okay, what kind of movies company can show to Amit once he log into the platform, because he's a new user, right? So intuitively what companies try to do is they try to match Amit as an individual, because he's a new guy who come on that platform, with the different set of a users which is already using the platform, and try to figure out a similarity between them. Okay, and let's say if they find out a similarity between Amit and Arihant is very high, then what they will do is that, okay, the similarity between Arihant and Amit is very high, and Arihant have watched this, that's where Amit may also like this particular content. Okay, so this is one way of thinking about it. Okay, so intuitively all of this recommendation systems try to work on this logic, where they try to find out the similarities, whether a similarity between user, between content, and so on and so forth. Okay, and accordingly they generate. Even I think you guys have heard about Spotify as an app, right? Which generates a music related list for you guys, right? And how it is generating that list, again, by the behavior of you, like what kind of songs you have watched, Accordingly, they are trying to figure out that which songs are similar to that song and then adding in your kitty. Like for example, if you are hearing a lot of romantic songs, they will try to figure out about that romantic as a genre, or maybe let's say the guy who have sing that song and so on and so forth, and then they try to create that list for you. Okay, so I think we are living in this world where every product you use are in a way are exploring or exploiting or like deploying this technologies to improve the customer experience. And again, as I said, how this is going to help companies, right? Because this technologies, putting this on cloud is something, where company has to burn the money, right? But at the end of the day, it helped to sell the products more, and all that stuff. And that's where all the companies are really interested in putting all these technologies in their product. Okay. Cool. I guess we can talk now on because programming languages I already talked about. Okay, just yeah. So now let's talk about the different analytic personas as such, which is available in the job market of AI and data science. Uh, Again, some of them I already spoke about earlier. Some of them, let me try to explain that. So one field is which is like machine learning and AI. You can call it as a data scientist also. Okay, that's where you are seeing in the analysis tab, analysis box, data scientist, machine learning scientist, machine learning engineer, statistician, data analyst, and all that role, which I talked about that what kind of skill sets you need. There is one more layer of engineering where again your CS skills come into a picture, your IT skills come into a picture, where you will mostly deal with the big data systems or the database systems. So this kind of jobs falls into the category of an engineering skill. Okay, now you can think of for any company. Okay, first they need someone who can store this data in an efficient way. Okay, or create this data pipelines. Okay, create the end-to-end data pipelines for them so that all this data which is coming in will be stored safely, will be stored in a proper format. From a security point of view, this data is being stored very, very in a secure environment. So that whole job have been done by engineering guys, data engineering. Okay, that's why we call it as a data engineer role, where you are not expected to do a lot of data science related stuff. You're not expected to do a lot of machine learning models or AI model, but what you are expected to do is do a lot of engineering tasks. So a lot of ETL tasks like extract the data, transform it, and then load it back. So data engineer jobs or data engineers are type of a jobs which enables the platform for data scientists to work on. Okay, so data engineer is very much needed. And again, I say that if you even aspire to become a data scientist, I think there is no harm in learning about an engineering skills, like how to write SQL queries, understand about the optimization of the databases, learn about the different procedures, functions, and all this related to the databases, not only about SQL systems, but even of NoSQL systems. Okay, and then you can probably graduate yourself towards a machine learning role as such. Okay, the third category of role, which is more kind of a business role, I will say, is on the presentation side. So a lot of times in the companies, you will see that there are a couple of people who have a good years of experience and they don't wanted to do a technical role, and that's where this kind of roles come into the picture, which is business analytics specialist or data visualization engineer. Their role is more on the functional side of a things, which is like to enable, because see, data scientists are like geeks. Okay, they are like, even if you like talk about me, I like generally do a lot of modeling stuffs, write a lot of Python codes, deploy all this ML and DL models. But sometimes it happens that there is a business who wants some things to be done. So there is someone who needs in between to enable that discussion, to understand the business problems better, and then come back to data scientists and ask them to work on the specific problem. So that's how this third type of a role come into a picture. Okay, but broadly, if I talk about these are the broader roles you will see in data science or ML machine learning industry, which is data engineering, data scientist, data visualization guy, machine learning scientist, an NLP engineer, and deep learning researcher. So probably let me talk about NLP engineer and deep learning researcher a bit more. All other things I think we have broadly discussed. So if you guys are very much interested in exploring what the best can be done with a textual related data, then that's where the NLP engineer role come into the picture. Again, NLP is also one branch of AI as such. You can easily say that. But here the focus is on the textual data kind of a thing. Like for example, what kind of use cases you can work upon here? Like for example, you have a lot of Twitter data. Okay, as I mentioned, right, there are a lot of tweets which is getting generated. Now, if I wanted to understand the sentiments, I cannot go ahead and read each and every tweet. Okay, so let's say any CEO of a company wanted to understand the sentiment about their product, okay, on Twitter. Now that CEO cannot go and read all that tweets, right, one by one. This is illogical activity to do, right? It's not a logical way of understanding the sentiments, right? So what will happen in that case is, as a data scientist, you will extract that data out. You will like call their APIs, to extract that data. And once you have extracted that data, then you will run this models to figure out whether that particular tweet is positive tweets or it is a negative tweet. Okay, again you will train your machine learning models to figure out that whether this tweet have a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment. See, as a humans, we can understand, like if I say something about some tweet, you guys will be able to figure out very easily that whether that tweet is positive or negative. But machine doesn't understand like that, right? Because machine doesn't understand that if I say good, better, good and better, okay, so or let's say best or excellent, okay, then I know that excellent is better than good as a word, right? But for machines to understand, then we have to train a machine learning models where we have to convert all this word into a numeric vector and then pass it to machine to understand the meanings of it. So an LP engineer is very interesting role to be in, where you are going to deal with the textual related data a lot to do the different use cases. Again, but still, though you are going to deal a lot with the textual related data, but your understanding about the statistics, understanding about the mathematics, understanding about the different machine learning algorithms is very, very, very important. Okay, in this role also. Now, the other role is deep learning researcher or engineer role. Now let me talk on that. Now there is some shift which is happening. Okay, let me talk about this also. So initially, if I talk about 2011-12, there is a lot of things which people used to talk on machine learning algorithms because people were not used to about them. People were trying specifically in India ecosystem. Okay, now I think a lot of machine learning algorithms are available easily. People can really do the magic with that, specifically the structure when the structured data is concerned. But nowadays, a lot of focus is now getting into analyzing the video streams, analyzing the audio data, analyzing the images data, and that's where machine learning algorithm doesn't fit the bill. Okay, machine learning algorithm have their own limitations, technical limitation, and that's where deep learning area started flourishing on a larger extent. Okay, uh, so in deep learning, again, you are going to use different types of neural networks like artificial neural network, CNN, convolutional neural network, RNN, and all this kind of neural networks to train your models on the images data sets, on the text related data sets, on the images and the video related data sets to predict the images. Like for example, the simple example to understand is, let's say, differentiating between a cat and dog, okay, as an animal. So you have, let's say, got a lot of images about cat and dog as an animal. Now you wanted machine to figure out that which image is of cat or which image is of dog. So what you will do is you will go and train a CNN model there. CNN is an algorithm which falls under deep learning vertical, right, where you go and train a CNN model and try to train machine to figure out a difference between dog and a cat as such, okay, as an animal. Now there is a lot of work happening in the deep learning side on the face recognitions models. Okay, recognizing the different faces, tagging the different boundaries. Now, again, if you wanted to read more about this, you can read about OpenCV, you can read about YOLO as an algorithm, okay, which is available. Now, what you can do is, like, for example, right now I'm sitting in room, okay, and I'm talking to you guys, right? So I can train a model which can, if I take an image, okay, let's say, I am sitting here and let's say I just take an image, okay. uh, there are machine learning models, there are deep learning based models which can identify televisions in that, let's say, image, which can easily identify the chair, which can really easily identify the fan, which can easily identify the AC. So you don't have to manually tag it. You just have to train a model, take an image, pass to that particular model, and that model will say that, okay, here is the Arihant, here is the guy who is sitting and talking. Here is the chair which is putting up here. Here's the television, here is the AC, and so on and so forth. So all this task can be done under the deep learning vertical. Again, why I put a researcher as a word, because there is a lot of research happening into that area in the audio side, video side, as well as images side. So you guys can definitely read about that more to make yourself equipped what's happening in that particular field. Okay, so right, so I think this is what I just wanted to cover. Probably I will stop for a moment and see if there are any questions, uh, and possibly open up for a questions answer round as such. If there are like not a lot of questions, then probably I can talk on more topic related to ML and deep learning as such. But probably wanted to pause for a moment and see if there are any questions which I wanted to answer.
Sir, there are no such questions, sir, for time being.
Okay, okay. So cool. Anyone wanted to ask any question? Probably let me wait for 2 minutes. If any questions on the thing which I presented, any topics, anything you guys are interested in to know more about specifically what to learn in this field or something. Probably I think let's see if there are any questions which is coming in.
Okay.
If anyone wanted to ask like how specifically you wanted to proceed to build a career, probably I can talk about that. But let's see if there are any questions which is coming in as such. Oh,
Sir, there is one
okay,
question.
sure.
What is the future of the startup companies?
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Let me take that. Thanks, guys. I think keep your questions coming in, and that's where I, stop in between. I have one more topic to cover, but I think that let's take a question. So I think this question. Let me start with this question. What is the future of startup companies alongside technology? Okay, so good question. Uh, so see, there is plethora of startups which is being opened in last couple of years, specifically in last 7 8 years, specifically focusing technology as a pillar. Okay, like for example, if I give an example, and again I just talking it in general way. Earlier, if you talk about a scenario 5 10 years down the line, if you wanted to take a loan, okay, you have to give n number of documents. The It's a very tiring process, but there are a lot of startups which now making this process very smooth. And why? Because we have a technology at our hand now, right? We can build this kind of fantastic models which can do the processing, which can figure out all the stuffs very easily. We have a technology like an OCR, okay, which is object character recognition, where all the documents can be uploaded in a PDF format, and machine can easily identify what's there in that. So no manual intervention is needed. uh, Now, what happened in that case, right? What startup did? Startup come with a technology, exploit the technology, use the technology, right, and then solve this problem, right? So the thing which was taking 2 days now taking less than an hour, okay, or I will say in couple of minutes, right? So there is definitely a huge like I will say that huge scope of startups, and that's what has happened in last couple of years. If you see Flipkart as a company that was a startup, and now it's become a big company. There are a couple of things, right? And I think if you guys just think about your life, 5 years or 7 years down the line, a lot of things you guys won't be able to do now because of technology we are able to do, right? So definitely the startup who is focusing on technology, who is leveraging ML and AI at the back, they are trying to solve the problems much more better versus other companies. And that's where I will try to answer, I will say to that answer that there is a huge scope if you really learn this and then contribute it to the success of any company as such, which is technology driven. Okay, I hope that question is answered. If there is any follow up, I would love to take. Any other questions which we see?
Sir, yes, sir. Why Python is essential for machine learning?
Okay, cool. Great question. I think this is a good question. Even I wanted to cover it in detail. So in my topic, so let's take this up. Again, as I said that there is no preference of language as such ML is concerned. However, what happened in last couple of years, if you see the progress of Python as a language, how it happened because it developed the ecosystem around it. What I mean by ecosystem, let me try to answer that. So when you work on any machine learning based model, you have to do data loading, you have to do data cleaning, you have to use different algorithms, experiment with them, and then you have to do visualization and so on and so forth, which I talked about in my earlier conversation, right? Now, Python as a language provides all this ecosystem very easily through the different libraries. Like pandas, if you wanted to write down, you can write down. Pandas provide you a library in the Python which you can use to load a lot of data sets, any kind of data set, whether you have a JSON file, XML file, CSV file, Excel sheets, any kind of the data, even you wanted to connect to the databases directly. So Python provides that in the form of pandas. Now, if you wanted to deal with arrays as a data structure, NumPy is something which provide you, which is called an ND array, NumPy array. Okay. Then the third ecosystem which is being developed is scikit-learn. Now, scikit-learn, if you Google it, you will find out that scikit-learn consist of the different algorithms which I talked about, like logistic regression, random forest, SGBoost, gradient boosting, and so on and so forth. All these are available in that particular library. Okay, so if you see Python as a language, it has developed the ecosystem around it, and that's where the developers, data scientists, machine learning scientists across the world started contributing this to this open source technology. And you guys can also contribute once you have learned all this thing. You can go and you can also submit your codes there and be a part of an open source world as such, right? And that's where Python gain a lot of traction, and that's where Python is today. As I'm speaking, Python is one of the most sought skill in the industry. Okay, and again, I'm not discouraging any programming language, guys. Just a disclaimer: every programming language has its own importance, and I understand that in some cases Python also, like when you have to do a lot of tasks which is in real time, Python doesn't fit the bill. That's where you have to use other technologies. But I am saying specifically for data science world, this is the reason Python have gained attraction. So I say that whatsoever programming language you are learning in your colleges with the help of your professors, do learn them, but as well as try to develop an interest in Python, because Python is a skill which will help you in fetching the job in the market easily. Okay, so that's what my answer to the question which have been asked related to Python. Any other question?
Uh, yes, sir. Some more are
Yeah.
there. How fair ML supports cybersecurity area?
Okay, very interesting question. Okay, so cybersecurity is a very interesting area, and there is a lot of work happening in that area. So I will tell you a couple of use cases as such. So one of the use case in which there is a lot of work happened is anomaly detection. and again in the cyber security as well as another area, right? So anomaly detection, where you try to find an anomaly. So what is anomalies, guys, as such, if you wanted to understand? So let's say there are around 10 lakh transactions which happened. Out of that, only having a one transaction is having a anomaly as such, like which is different from the other 10 lakh transactions. Now for any ML model, it's tough to detect that particular uh, anomaly transaction. That's where there is a lot of research happened. There is algorithms, like if you wanted to write down, you can read about them. There are a lot of research paper around it, like isolation forest, one class SVM. All these algorithms come into a picture, which is being deployed in which is being deployed in cybersecurity area. Again, what I see is that there is plethora of scope in that field, and in the coming next few years, I see that the area in which machine learning will grow exponentially is one of the area is definitely cybersecurity. There are a lot of area which has already done a lot of things, like banking. A lot of machine learning has already happened, okay, and still it's happening. E-commerce, a lot of machine learning, deep learning has happened, still happening. But cybersecurity is a area which have got a traction in last couple of years and is going to get a lot of traction in the coming years. Okay, I hope that answer your question, whosoever is asked about the cybersecurity as an area. If not, then you guys can ask me a follow-up. I will love to answer that.
Sir, it's the same in cybersecurity. One more question.
Mhm.
Let us know the role of LNP in cybersecurity.
Okay, a role of NLP. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
See, okay. So again, let's have a look. Let's talk about cybersecurity as an area, right? So NLP, the role of NLP as such. So when we use NLP, okay, so NLP is like wherever you find a textual data, you can use an NLP, right? So in the cybersecurity area, I also say that there is a huge role of NLP because you will find a lot of textual related data. That's where you have to definitely use a lot of NLP in that area. And again, NLP, trust me, in 2013 when I started my journey into data science after graduating from college, not in a CS branch. I'm like from core branch, but my interest towards this drive me to get into this field. NLP was not a sought skill that time, but now NLP is kind of a must-have skill in each of the data scientist profile, because the way data have grown in past few years, last 5 years, NLP data, text related data have grown exponentially. I can give you a simple example of NLP which you can use in a cyber security also. I hope you guys have heard about uh, Quora as a platform, right? Where guys will go and ask a questions, and someone will come and answer, right? I'm sure you guys have seen that platform. Now, one of the competition which is being launched in the area of NLP is, can you identify the duplicate questions by using an NLP algorithms? So let's say if I ask that what are the top 5 skills in machine learning, and then I ask that what are the top 6 skills in the machine learning, again both have a similarity, right? So again, in this kind of a problem statements, you can go ahead and use an NLP algorithm to identify the duplicate questions, right? How this help the platform like Quora, because they don't wanted a plethora of duplicate questions to become on the platform. Okay, the second example which where you can use NLP not only in cybersecurity but in general, you guys have got your email boxes, right? There is tons of emails which is pending in there, right? uh, yeah, so you guys can go ahead and read that data and start doing a couple of NLP projects there. Like you try to find out an insights from your from your email box, that what kind of mails you have got, what is the common word which you have got in the different mails. So just to answer your question, in cybersecurity, definitely there is a scope of NLP. Other than that, also NLP as a topic in ML is of fantastic importance now as I am speaking today, and it will definitely going to get more traction only in the coming months and coming years. Yeah. So, what is the next question?
As an engineer student,
Yeah.
can you signify a bit more why calculus is more important?
Okay, as an engineer, can you signify a bit more why calculus is so important? Okay. Um, okay, so let me go a little bit technical here and just try to answer that. When all the machine learning algorithms, when you will read them and when you try to understand the depth of these algorithms, uh, the major thing which will be common across all this machine learning algorithm is optimization. All these algorithms try to reduce the losses and optimize the accuracy of your model, because just first understand from a prediction perspective. When you say, there is bit of a background noise which is coming. Okay, yeah, thanks. So yeah, when you use machine learning, you try to build a predictive models. Okay, and predictive models have an error. Like for example, if I ask you guys, what is the probability that it will rain tomorrow in Bangalore? Okay, for example, uh, let's say if you have some model in place, it will say that okay, there is like 0.7 probability that the raining will happen in Bangalore tomorrow. And Google also do that. You guys, if you are using a smartphones, you do get this recommendation from Google, right? Now every time all these models are not perfect, right? So there is a chances of error. Now any machine learning algorithm in this world have one thing in common, which is to optimize the accuracy, to increase the accuracy and reduce the losses. And that's where calculus is important. I'm just trying to connect both the things to show you the importance of calculus. In calculus, if you as you all are engineering student, you know about dy by dx, right? When we do first derivative, and the second derivative we do d square y by dx square, right? And when we wanted to find out the value, we generally say that okay, dy by dx is equals to 0. Now find out the value of x, kind of a thing, right? So why you do that? When you try to find out a global maxima or global minima or local maxima or local minima, right? So this kind of concepts are being used in the machine learning algorithms when you are trying to optimize the accuracy of this machine learning algorithm. And that's where, for you guys to understand all these concepts, right? What is local minima, what is local maxima, what is d square y by dx square, when you will put it to 0, and so on and so forth, will help you a lot in understanding this machine learning algorithms. Okay, so if you like, after this session, if you go and read on neural networks, just go and read on ANN, artificial neural network. You will hear two things: forward uh, forward propagation and backward propagation. In backward propagation, if you read about this on Google, I'm sure you might not have read, but I'm just saying that after this session, read about them. You will understand the importance of derivatives. A lot of students, I do a lot of mentoring, and people do ask and say that, okay, this derivative thing, how this is going to help us in real life. Come to machine learning world, this all thing which you are learning will definitely help you a lot. Okay, so I hope that question is answered. What is the next question, sir?
How can I succeed as a data scientist with limited maths and statistics background?
Okay. So, okay, again a good question. So see, let me give a simple analogy, right? Let's say if you wanted to prepare a tea, right, and if you put less sugar in it, right, it won't sound that tasty when you will have a tea, right? So similarly, definitely you can get an entry into data scientist if you don't know a lot of maths or don't know a lot of statistics. And again, to getting in, so I'm not saying this thing, okay, that you have to learn everything today and then after that you can think of entering this field. Okay, the idea is simple, that learn the basic things, get yourself ready for a job, right, and move into this industry and then keep on learning. Today morning, I was like training one of the CNN model, then I was just solving some of the mathematical equation which I was not aware about. So even after having a 7 year of experience, I have my own learning curve, which definitely you guys also have. So don't feel that you have a very less knowledge today. It will be a situation going forward also. But just to answer your question in a specific way, start with couple of things like understanding about the hypothesis testing, understanding in mathematics about the basic matrices, basic vectors, how the matrix calculation happen, what is the meaning of transpose of a matrix, right? How you can do the multiplication of matrices, right? How, what is the meaning of first level of derivative, second level of derivative, how you do that. Start with the basic stuff and then read all this algorithm, come back and improve yourself on mathematics. So see, I am not demotivating anyone that if you don't know a deep mathematics, you won't be able to crack the job or you won't be able to enter into this field. You are definitely going to enter in some form, one form or other. But the idea is you can enter and then you keep on improving this. And again, I myself have took a lot of time to learn all these things. It doesn't happen that I learned all this thing in 1 month or 2 months. It's an iterative process. It took time, right? But again, learn the basic thing which I mentioned and then start applying it on your projects. There is a lot of websites where you can go and apply this, and then keep on graduating your knowledge to another level. Seek mentors, work with them, show that okay, this is what you have done. Now you wanted to move to the next stage, work with your professors, right? And then learn more mathematics. But again, if you have a basic maths done, which I said, you are like very well in a position to go and seek a job there as a data scientist. Okay. Any other questions, sir?
Yes, sir. Two more are
Yeah.
there. Uh, Suggest some simple projects to build our own ML skills.
Wow. Okay. Cool. I think that's also one of the thing which I wanted to cover. So let's talk on that. Okay. So okay. I will say that okay. A simple project which you guys can start with is a Titanic data set, which is available on Kaggle as a platform. So this data set is about the Titanic. I am sure you guys have heard about movie called Titanic, in which the unfortunate event have happened. The some people have died, because of that unfortunate event. So that data set is about that, which is available on Kaggle. If you Google Titanic data set on Kaggle on Google, you will find that data set, right? uh, that data set is about the people who have died, right, and the people who have survived. Okay. And there are a lot of variables which is given to you, okay, which is like age of a passenger, in which category the passenger is sitting on the ship. So categories, like in the trains we have a tiers, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. In the similar way on the ship there are different tiers, in a way, right? So this kind of data is given to you, and what is being asked from that particular data set to you is that develop a model to predict which passenger have a high probability of survival. Okay. So this is again a simple binary classification problem, technically, if I call it, where you can apply all these algorithms like logistic regression, random forest. You guys can write these algorithms. You can probably Google them out. Uh, for after this session to know more that random forest, SG boost as a techniques, you can apply on this data set and build your first project. So I think that's what the first project I will suggest you guys. If you wanted to learn the machine learning on a structured data, on a unstructured data, if you wanted to do the simple project I suggest to you guys is uh, take couple of PDFs. Okay, take couple of PDFs from credit card statements, which come. If you have a credit card, you definitely are getting it. If not, then you can seek your parents or your friends help to get that. Read that PDFs in Python. There are a lot of packages to read that. After that, build a system. Okay, build a system to categorize the transactions in the credit cards which have done. Like for example, let's say in the credit card you have done multiple transactions. Okay, like on grocery, on let's say ordering from Swiggy, for example. Let's say you have paid your tuition fees using credit card, and so on and so forth, right? So collect around a couple of PDFs, read that in Python, and then apply the NLP techniques to categorize the transaction into multiple categories, like entertainment as a category, fashion as a category, how much you spend on fashion, and so on and so forth. Again, this project you don't need anyone's help as such, any on data. You can have your own PDFs of the credit card statement. If you don't have, you can seek from your friends or whosoever use the credit cards. Read this and start analyzing that. This is one of the easiest project to start with on NLP. Trust me, like I have like suggested this to couple of people in past. They have done this and they have built their systems. And even if you go on GitHub and just Google it, you will find a lot of codes which is available for doing this project. So I think that's the basic project you guys can start with. On the images, if you guys wanted to do any project, uh, then I will say that there is one data set which is called MNIST dataset. MNIST dataset. This dataset is about the handwritten handwritten numbers from 0 to 9. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till 9. This is a images data set. So someone has written handwritten digits like 2 by hand, 3 by handwritten, and so on and so forth. And then you have to build a neural network to identify that number, from that image, whether that number is 4 or whether that number is 5 or whether that number is 8, and so on and so forth. So that's the basic project to start with. Again, if you Google this project, you will find tons of blocks, tons of code which is written by different data scientists, and you can use them. Okay, I hope that question is answered broadly on the three areas which you can start your project on.
Okay, sir. Last question is
Yeah.
there. What is the minimum and maximum size of data needed to test or train machine learning?
Okay, again a good question. Cool. So, okay, so again, there is no specific exact answer to it, to be honest. But I will try to put up some approximate answer to it. See, the beauty of machine learning systems and the deep learning systems, more and more data you will give to this algorithms, they will perform better and better. But what is the minimum data points you can start with? I will say that even if you have 3,000, 4,000 rows of your data set, you can go ahead and start with it. No one is stopping you to do that, right? So you can just go ahead and start building your machine learning models there. But the question is that model will be the perfect one? Maybe not. Okay. Or maybe yes, maybe not, I don't know. But I'm just saying that more and more data you will get, you can start building a models there. Even the tightening data set which I talked about, it has less than 1,000 rows. That's okay. For learning purposes, you guys can go ahead and pick up that data set also and try to learn few things about it, and then move to the complex data sets, or the data set which is of high volumes. So see, I personally have worked with a data set which have like 100 lakh rows and around 50,000 columns. Okay, so I worked on that data set also, right? So you can start as small as 1,000 rows also to learn the projects, and then gradually move towards uh, working with a data set which is of higher dimension as such, right? So even on the smaller data set, you will have your own learning. You will learn a couple of things, which is very very important. And again, just one thing to all of you: initially when you are learning something, it doesn't matter that whether the data set is small or huge. What you all should focus upon is the intuition of the things. Okay, like for example, you are running a random forest model. Work on understanding the intuition about the algorithm. How's this algorithm working intuitively? Okay, because see, when you go in interviews and when you give the interview, everyone is trying. Every interviewer have this thing in common. Like me, I myself take a lot of interviews, so I try to understand this thing from student is that what he understood from it. What is he understood the intuition of it? Is he understood why it's happening? Because how to do that is somewhat which is available on Google for most of the algorithms. To be honest, writing a code for this algorithm is not something which is very difficult nowadays. There is plethora of GitHub, there is plethora of documents which is available. That's why it's very important, guys, whenever you're working on small data set or big data set, always focus on intuition behind them. And for intuition, of course, you have to go a little bit deeper, probably watch more videos, seek a mentor help, and then probably come to a platform where you will be able to build a beautiful intuition about this algorithms. Okay, so any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so cool. So I think probably let's see if anyone have wanted to ask any more questions.
One more question,
Yeah.
sir. Uh, how, how to do missing value treatment if more blanks in an attribute and that attribute is important one?
Okay, got it. Yeah. So, okay, good question. So what? I don't know who asked this, but whosoever asked this is a good question, which comes very common while dealing with data sets. That what we will do with the missing values. Okay. Uh, and again, let me start with a story here, right? So in the real world, when you generate a data set or when you store the data, uh, again, the real world is messy, to be honest. Maybe the data files which you guys work on by the different websites, you may find that data is very clean, but in real life data is not clean. Data is like very messy, and when it is messy, there is a challenge of missing values. Like for example, let's talk about one data set. Just trying to answer that question in such a way so that it help all the audience here. Uh, let's say you are working with one data set where you have an age as a column. Okay, age of a customer. Okay, uh, and you have age from, let's say, 16 years, 17 years, 18 years, 50 years, 55 years, and so on and so forth. Okay, but let's say you have 20% rows which have a missing value in the data set. Okay, so it means, let's say if I have 100 rows, 20 rows doesn't have any value for that particular column. Then what we'll do, deletion of that rows is not something which is good exercise to do. The reason being that if you delete that row, you are actually deleting an information from the data set, which is not a ideal way of doing the things. Okay, so then what you can do, then there are multiple ways you can handle this problem. The one way of handling this problem is, if that column is a continuous data set, like age is a continuous data set, you can probably calculate a mean and median there. Okay, I'm sure you guys know that what is mean and median, so you can easily calculate a mean and median. Okay, and if the mean and median, the difference between mean and median is not very high, okay, then you can probably use any of them, mean or median, to impute that. Okay, so this process is called imputation process, where you try to find the value of mean or median, and if the difference between the mean and median is not very high, you can use any of them. And if the difference between mean and median is very high, right, then probably you can go ahead with the median as an imputation. So what I mean by this is simply is, in the age column, calculate a mean uh, and median, compare the mean and median values, and if the mean and median values are not the difference between median and mean value is not very high, then probably go with any value and impute all this 20 missing values here. This is one way of doing this. Interestingly, there is a lot of research happened in this field, and now what happened is, there are a lot of packages which is available which predict the missing values. Right? Interesting, right? That there are so much research happened. There is so much effort which people have put to predict the missing values also. So if you wanted to write this, you guys can write this. There is a package called mice, mice, which help you in predicting the missing values. There is one package called misforest, missforest, misforest, which helps you in predicting the missing values. So these are a couple of ways you can handle the missing values. Okay, I hope that question is answered. If not, then probably you do a follow up. I will try to answer it again. Any other question?
Okay, so one more. Can you suggest a few interdisciplinary projects on AI and ML for final year students?
Okay. Cool. So see, some of the things. Okay, so see, projects thing. I already talked about that there are these three projects you guys can pick on, but I will talk more on that. So let's say if you are interested in learning about or working with the images, I told that one of the data set which you can pick and work upon is MNIST data set, which is handwritten values of numbers from 0 to 9, which is 10 class problem. and you have to then train a CNN there or any other algorithms there to classify this handwritten images. That's the one project I guess you guys can pick if you are very interested in working with NLP, working with images, not NLP. Let's say if you are interested in working with NLP as such, then I can suggest one more project which you guys can look forward to is the Cura duplicate questions. Okay, so if you go on Kaggle and search on the Cura, there is one project which says that you have to use an NLP algorithms to figure out whether the question is duplicate or not. So you will be given a question number 1 and question number 2, and then you have to figure out whether they are a duplicate question or not. So that's one of the project which I suggest that you guys can do it if you are interested. If you are interested in reinforcement learning also, which is like which is not as such I will say on ML, but yeah, extended branch reinforcement learning, then again you can do related to gaming. You can develop your own games. You can read on that. You will find couple of GitHub related to them if you are interested in that also. So I think 3 projects out of this you can choose anyone and start building something which is very innovative. Even if you are interested a lot in images world, I will say that explore OpenCV, explore YOLO, and build your own face detections, boundary detection models, which will be very awesome projects for you guys to showcase on the GitHub also. I hope that is something which you are which you are seeking for. If not, then probably you can put a follow up. I will answer them.
So that's all, sir. So can you share your email, sir, so that some of the participants can share some queries regarding AI and ML?
Yeah, sure. So I will. Okay, so probably I will put this in chat and share. Any other question which is left over as such you can see, because I tried answering all of them which you have asked, but if there is anything which is pending, you can have a look. And anyone, just I think we still have 8 minutes in the session. So anyone have any other question, guys can ask it. I will just share my email ID. Okay.
There is no such question, sir.
Yeah. So I send you my email ID. You can forward it to the students. And anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Or should I call out my email ID here?
I'll post it, sir.
Yeah, sure. Uh, okay, so I think probably let's wait for a minute more. If there are any more questions, then we can take that. Otherwise, I think because most of the things I wanted to cover, I think, has been covered, and a lot of questions which is being asked, it helped me to cover the other pending topics also, which I wanted to cover. Okay, so I think last 1 minute, guys. All of you, if you have any questions, uh, you like feel free to ask that. If you have any questions on that, I can take that up.
Sir, one more
Yeah.
question. Why AI is always referred as AI and ML?
Okay. Interesting question, sir. Okay, so there is okay. Okay, so see, if you see ML and AI, this word generally we use a lot together. The reason for that is probably I think there is a lot of things which publish in forms of articles, which comes on web. Okay, and that's how something got into a trend, and I think that's also one of the reason. Technically, if you see now and understand in a way, right? So people say that okay, if you are doing a self-driving cars, you are doing an AI. Okay, and if you are building a risk models, like the example which I have given our credit card, you are doing an ML. Okay, so but still I see that self-driving car also is one type of an AI, and even building a risk model, if I am working on creating any marketing model or risk model, I am like doing in a way of AI. Even if you think about a linear regression, right? In that also you are just trying to find out a coefficients, beta coefficient, and use the different optimization technique. So that's where I will say, trust me, like I am into this field since last 7 years. I've seen that there is a lot of sometimes there is some topics which is in very high as such, and that's why people keep on talking about that. But I will still say that the core should be retained. Okay. Which is like if you're automating any stuffs, if you're working on any type of data set which is helping driving companies their revenues, then definitely it is a good stuff as such. Whether it's an AI or not, uh, personally, I don't care. What I care is that how I am contributing to the growth of the companies I am working with by using different ML or deep learning algorithms, or if the need is building a self-driving car also. Okay, so that's how I wanted to answer that. Probably that's the best way I can answer that, because that's I think one of the most asked question in the different seminars I take. Any other questions?
So, how robotics is related to the topic, this topic,
Okay.
AL and
Yeah,
ML?
okay. So robotics, as such, see, robotics is not generally I generally cover in this ML and AI, but yeah, robotics is of course a topic which is since ages now. People are trying to automate a lot of stuffs, and there is a lot of scope in that field as such. But as far as machine learning and AI topic is concerned, uh, I will say that they are connected to each other. Definitely, they are definitely connected to each other. Uh, and But like for example, let's say if you are building a automation pipeline for any manufacturing company, you need a lot of more thing other than machine learning. Definitely, you need a machine learning knowledge, but at the same time, you need more things. Which is which can help you in driving the robotics. You need a hardware knowledge. You need to think that how you can design the hardware systems along with the software system, which machine learning helps to drive a lot. Like for example, the recent thing you can read about is GPT-3, which is like launched by OpenAI just few days back. You can like read about that. That's also one of the you can call it as an automation based AI technology which is driving a lot of things in the industry. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, so, sir, you mentioned some of the Miss Forest and one more, sir.
Miss Forest and
Packages.
mice. MIC mice. Yeah.
Mice. Okay.
Uh,
And one machine learning and automation, are they connected?
yeah. I think I answered that. They are connected in a way.
Yeah. So, what suggestion do you have for A and ML learning agility?
Okay. So if you talk about learning agility as such, right? See, I think this is one of the field which I think that needs a constant effort. Even you are a senior guy or you are a junior guy, or let's say you wanted to enter this field. As I said that even today I spend my weekends or late nights sometimes to learn about the new technology which is coming in. So I will suggest that if you are really interested to keep yourself updated every time, and wanted to put a constant effort, I think this is the field to be in, where you need to constantly put a lot of efforts to learn these things, not only learn them theoretically but apply them, create your own solutions, which require a lot of learning agility as such. You need to have a very agile attitude toward this. You have to unlearn a lot of things, like the things about the NLP. I will say that which I have learned in 2014-15. I won't say that they are not as useful now, but a lot of things have changed now. Like if I don't update myself, then I won't be able to solve a lot of business problems in the real life. So and that's why I love this field, because this field need you to be on the top of the funnel every time. You have to keep constantly updating yourself, learning a lot of new things, and doing this. And again, that's fun. To be honest, like if you love this, then it's a very good field to be in, where you have to learn a lot of things like this. Yeah, cool.
So, that's all, sir.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess then
Nice.
if there are no questions, then I think we can like close the session from my side at least. Thank you guys for attending this. Thank you for the opportunity which has been given to come on this platform and talk about this. All the best to all of you. Thank you very much from my side.
Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session.
Thank you.
One more, sir. Our HOD will speak a few
Sure,
words.
sure.
Hello. Sir, thank you so much. Really, it was a very interesting and very informative session. Hope all the participants have gained most out of this webinar, and you have answered all the queries that is raised by the participants. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And I thank Sharath Kumar sir also for his support in organizing this webinar. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Professor Suresh Kumar to propose vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, one and all. I, Suresh Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, Vivekananda Institute of Technology, would like to propose vote of thanks. It's my privilege and honor to express my gratitude. First, I thank our management, Danta Education Society, for their support. I extend my humble gratitude to today's speaker, Mr. Harian Jain, Data Science Trainer at Imarticus Learning Private Limited, for sparing time for us in his busy schedule to share the knowledge. Thank you, sir. I extend my thanks to Mr. Sharath Kumar, Head Business Development, Imarticus Learning Private Limited, for helping us in approaching today's speaker. Thank you, sir. It's my privilege to thank our principal, Dr. Kumar Kenchegoda, sir, and Vice Principal, Dr. D.V. Chandrasekhar, sir, for their support in successful conduction of this event. Thank you, sir. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to our beloved HOD, Dr. Vidya, Professor and at Department of CSC for her continuous support in conducting event like this. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank HODs of all departments for their support and involvement. Thank you all. Last but not the least, I thank teaching and non-teaching staff of our department and all the participants for their active participation. Thank you one and all. Stay home, stay safe.
I thank the coordinators, Professor Lakshmi, Shruti, and Suresh, for their continuous support and coordination in successfully completing this webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.